Okay, so let's make sure you're in the right place in your calculator. Again, you have put your before in list 1, your after in list 2, and you did list 3 was your L2 minus your L1, and so then we plotted all list 3. I don't even care about L1 and L2 anymore. So stat over to tests, and since this all we're interested is in that one mean of list 3, I'm going to do number 2, which is a t-test. See, that's what's interesting about these paired data is that I'm interested in just one mean of their differences. So number 2, where it says t-test. Okay, and then we have the tabs up there at the top. You have your data tab versus your stats tab. Stats tab would be if they gave you the mean and standard deviation. But we have our information in, and where were our differences located that we are computing? Where did we have those differences located? So make sure here the list is L3. Yours might have defaulted to L1, but make sure that you put second 3 for L3 there. And the frequency can be 1. That means everything happens in there once. Now, let's talk about this null hypothesis here. What does this mean, null hypothesis being 0? What is that essentially saying? That the average of, you have a question on your calculator?
Yeah, mine doesn't have list. And it says t-test at the top.
Okay, so so the average being 0 is that null hypothesis saying there is no difference between them. You need to be on data, not stats.
Oh.
Okay. All right, so the null hypothesis is 0. Okay, now, what were we checking to see if it has improved? So our alternative was about being greater than 0. So there's your HAs. Your alternative was greater than 0, so that's why I clicked that. And now I'm going to calculate, and there's where I get my values. My t-score, so you want to write down the t-score, is 3.597 or 3.6. P-value. Now notice this doesn't give you degrees of freedom because it isn't that two separate means where it's a funky formula. What is the degrees of freedom for this one list? The degrees of freedom for this one list was just 9. Okay? So those are the 3 things to include. The t-score, the p-value, and your degrees of freedom. And again, then you would put those things in there. So the other video will go back. I'll go ahead and finish this out here. So let's go to our conclusion. So our conclusion here says that, since the p-value is less than alpha, then I'm going to reject HO. So I'm over here taking a look at this section here for my conclusion. Okay, so here I am in all this stuff. So I'm going to reject HO. So since the p-value is less than alpha, I reject that the average is 0. I'm rejecting that there is no difference. So, therefore, I have evidence that the exercise program is increasing something. So let's talk about what it's increasing, because that's important. So I have evidence. Can I just say that I have evidence the exercise program increases job satisfaction? If I say it increases job satisfaction and I just leave it like that, what does that imply? That means every single person had increased job satisfaction, and that is not true. So you don't say every person had increased job satisfaction. What are you saying? That the average had in the average difference, or there was an average increase in job satisfaction, increase in the average job satisfaction. Okay, so as long as you have that word average in there. Okay, now let's talk about the interval. So the interval says that we want to be 96% confident. So our parameter and assumptions were the same as above, but go ahead and put in your name of this interval. You can say one sample t-test for the interval. Okay, you can say one sample t-test for paired data, or one mean t-interval for paired data. Okay, now do make sure that you put this right here. Do make sure you are notating how you are subtracting. That's always required, that you are notating the way in which you subtracted. So make sure that is going in front of your interval. So let's go practice getting that interval on our calculator. Okay, so come on over to your calculator and go stat over to test. All right, so we're actually not doing one of those first 6 items because those are about tests. What are we going to do? Number 8 says T interval. So that's just one plain old, one mean T interval. Number 8 is one mean T interval. So again, we have our data in list 3. And I think it said to be 96% confident. So that's 0.96 for the confidence level. And I'm going to calculate that. And that's how I get 2.8 to 14.2. 2.8 to 14.2. So here's how that then looked here. So I am saying, see, notice I have degrees of freedom. Now, of course, I think if you had already notated that degrees of freedom on the test, you were okay with that, if it's all one continuation. So I am 96% confident that the average change, or the average increase, or the average differences, something along those lines, average change, average increase, average differences, something about the average in that, the change in that job satisfaction for all the employees. Our little sample of 10 is giving us an indication about all the employees at that place, is between 2.8 and 14.2 points. It's units. You have units. These aren't percentages. Higher after the exercise program. Okay? So something about how the average is this much higher after, between this and this much higher after the exercise program. And then finally we have, since we're talking about differences, 0 is of interest to us. So this difference is completely above 0. So what does that say to us? 0 is not in the interval. And what does that say? There does appear to be an actual difference, or an actual, since it's completely above, you could say an actual increase in the average job satisfaction. Increase in the average job satisfaction. Okay? So then the of all the employees. So then the problems that you're going to do are pages 25 to 27. And we can take a look at those real quick. So I believe on page 25, this is page 25. Okay, so I can see here that we've got a situation where we've got a person before and after a program. So it's naturally going to be important to pair them. So this is definitely going to be one of the matched pairs problems. Okay, taking a look at page 26, then you can see here, this is talking about the name brand and generic medicine, okay? But it is matched by pharmacy. So because we're seeing if the temperatures at the various pharmacies are affecting the way that the medicines are maintaining their amount of drugs in them. So see, that's matched pair. It's matched by pharmacy. This is matched by pharmacy. So here's my question. Do you need to put this list right here of the pharmacy's numbering into your calculator? No, that's just a label of which pharmacy it is. The information is name brand and generic. Okay, and you want to match those up. But if you look at problem 3 on page 27, this one is two separate means. So this one goes back to two separate means. That's like what you did last night in chapter 24, okay? So see, I've mixed them up. So you're going to have to be continuously aware if we're talking paired or two separate means. All right, so there you go on your homework for that.